This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared by students, faculty, alumni, and other members of the USC community.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Viterbi Voices. As usual, I am one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma, Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And hey, everybody, I'm your other co-host, Maya, a current senior studying Industrial and Systems Engineering here at USC.
And over here, we've got someone that has been on the podcast before, but first time this year, I think. Who are you, mystery co-host?
For sure. Thanks, Paul. Hi, everybody. I'm Lucas Mortensen. I am currently a senior studying Industrial and Systems Engineering here, and I'm one of the VSAs, and super excited to be hosting the podcast this week.
So, Lucas, welcome back. I know we haven't seen you on the podcast for quite some time. Do you want to update people, for all of the one podcast listener that knows everything in every episode and frequency of guests? You were gone for a while.
I was, yes. I took a semester off of school last spring, so I haven't been around the team as much as I would have liked. But I was actually taking some time. I was doing an internship at Disneyland. I worked there from January to August, did a co-op and then also an internship. So a little bit different, but definitely an awesome time. A lot of great experience.
I think you totally buried the lead. You're like, I took some time away from school, and I was like, I was pausing for a minute. I'm like, what is he going to talk about? I'm like, I thought he was working. And then you're like, you went this long introduction into and then I was working. I'm like, you were working full time. You want to tell people I don't know how much you're allowed to, but you want to tell people what you're doing at Disneyland for a co-op?
Yeah, absolutely. I was working for their Industrial Systems Engineering team. So we kind of operate as internal consultants at the park. So like Space Mountain, like the team there would be one of our clients, and we'd go and work on efficiency projects for them, trying to make sure as many people get through as many rides as possible, or, as much food is being sold as possible, and it's being prepared in the correct way. So super fun, a lot of different work. I worked on many different projects while I was there, and it was a good time.
What was something that you found most interesting that people wouldn't know about Disneyland and the work that you did there?
Oh, gosh. I mean, there's just so much. They're really secretive about a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, what you're allowed to say, too. I mean, I don't know.
I think the coolest part was just, being able to go backstage. So they call anywhere that the consumers can't get to in the park, they call that backstage. They've got all the trucks running around behind the park, and they've got like these trams that carry the cast members. We refer to ourselves as cast members, carry cast members from one part of the park to another, some underground tunnels and things. So I think it was just really cool getting to see how all of that works behind the scenes. And then also just how much work we do put into, making sure that every little step of the way is perfect, right? The security line is something that's monitored 24/7 just to make sure that that's going as seamlessly as possible. And that's true for every operation throughout the park.
Yeah, for somebody going to Disney, Lucas, I feel like you did the important work, like less lines,
That's
like
true.
more efficient food. Yeah, so definitely improving the user's experience.
Trying to be a man of the people. Did the best I could during those 8 months. So.
Very cool. And do you know if it's something that you want to go back to? I mean, I know it's all about whether someone offers you a job down the road. Is that a place that you'd want to consider in the future? Did you like working there?
Oh, totally. They had talked to me about coming back for another. So I'm staying for, not to spoil what the podcast is about, but I'm staying for an extra year to get a master's degree through our progressive degree program. And so I've got another summer of internships, and they had asked me to come back for another summer. But I kind of decided that I wanted to go out and maybe get some more experience at a different company. But it's definitely something I'm looking into full time. I'm still in contact with the recruiter over there. So we'll kind of see how it all plays out in a year when I'm looking for a full-time job.
Very cool. Well, let's dive right into it. What is this episode all about?
Totally. Yeah, just kind of spoiled it a little bit. But this episode, we're going to be talking about the progressive degree program here at USC. So that's a 4+1. We kind of discussed it in the beginning of the podcast too with our first guest, but it's a 4+1 program in which you can get your undergrad or get your master's degree while you're finishing up your undergrad degree. So I'll be staying for an extra 2 semesters, and I will be getting a master's degree in addition to my undergrad degree in industrial and systems engineering.
Great. Quick clarification. It is not a 4+1 program. I want to be very, very clear about that. Because every student is different. Every single major combo is different. Students achieve both a bachelor's and a master's in reduced time, which is typically 5 years. But we have students that do that in less. Sometimes students do it more, depending on when it's actually going to be. But I want to make sure 4+1 does give a very specific number count that is not necessarily always true. I've even known students to do bachelor's and master's in 4, which I think is crazy, but it's happened. So I want to make sure that that's clear for everybody.
Totally. That's actually not to, again, spoil things, but that's our first guest. I said 4+1, but she's finishing in 4. So you guys will hear all about her journey here in a few minutes. But yeah, like Paul said, it can be shorter or longer, but it is theoretically it's reduced time.
All right. Well, let's get out of the way and hand it right over to you to talk a little bit more about the progressive degree program and all the opportunities that await for students combining their bachelor's and their master's degree. And we'll see you on the other side.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the intro, Maya and Paul. And super excited to be with you guys today. Our first guest today is going to be Shelby Wu, one of my good friends. Say hi, Shelby.
Hey, guys.
Awesome. And we're going to be kind of, as we said in the intro, we're going to be going over what a progressive degree program is and kind of our experiences with the progressive degree program at USC. So first off, Shelby, you want to tell us a little bit about what PDP is?
Yeah, sure. So PDP, from my understanding, is like an accelerated program here at USC where you can tag on another year, I believe. So it's like 4+1, and you can get your master's degree. And mine is more specifically in STEM, but you can get them in different fields here at USC.
Totally. So yeah, like Shelby said, it's a 4+1 program, which means you do 4 years of an undergraduate and then add in 1 extra year for your master's. And that's traditionally how it goes. You can kind of speed up or slow down the process depending on what you need. It's not like a strict, you have to be here for 5 years, but that's generally how long it takes. And so like Shelby said, you can do these master's programs in pretty much any school. You can go from engineering to business or to psychology or to any kind of field. But it's most traditional for us to go into an engineering master's from an engineering undergraduate. I'm a little bit more atypical. I am doing a business PDP, and so we'll talk about that in the second part of this podcast. But first, we have Shelby here. She's awesome, and she's kind of doing the more traditional route. So Shelby, do you want to tell us about your PDP program specifically?
Yeah, so for my PDP program, I'm currently in the product development PDP. It's under the ISC department, which is Industrial and Systems Engineering Department. It's a master's program. So I'm doing the product development PDP, and that one kind of gears you towards kind of like a little bit the business side of how a product develops within the market and how to develop that accordingly, business and tech side, I think. So it's kind of cool to see both of those in cohesion together. I did originally start with an engineering management PDP, which is also under the ISC department. And that one just gears you more in a more general field where you kind of learn about management and engineering setting and more tech setting. But yeah, my PDP right now is for product development.
Awesome. And just so everybody knows, ISE, I think we've said it a couple times, but it's Industrial and Systems Engineering. It's one of our undergraduate majors, and then it's a department for the different master's programs that you can do. So Shelby is an undergraduate ISE major, and she's also doing a master's in kind of a more specialized industrial engineering master's program. Awesome. So Shelby, you want to tell us a little bit of how you chose to pursue again, I know you said you switched from one to the other, but kind of I guess how that process worked and why you chose the majors you did.
Yeah, so I thought the PDP program was great. Main reason why I chose it, I think, was because I think it's a great way to accelerate your academic career, especially if you want to get your master's in. I think before going into industry, it's a great way to do that. And especially if you want to condense it and you don't want to do the full 2 years like a typical master's program, it's great. So that's kind of the reasons why I did it. I'm able to complete it in an even more accelerated way where I'm able to do it in my 4 years. So I'm kind of doing both a bachelor's and master's at the same time, and I'll be graduating with both after my 4 years. The reason why I chose at first engineering management, like I said before, for my PDP, which is under the ISC department, is because at first I wanted to kind of see the broader spectrum of what engineering management was. I heard it was a really popular PDP, so I did want to kind of dip my feet in and try and see what that was like. So I did take one of the first courses in it. And I did really enjoy it. But I think the reason why I chose to go into product development was because I did want to have a more niche master's. I think like I'm really interested in like the tech and business kind of pathway and how that intersects with each other. So I think I in the future want to go into product management and stuff like that. So I thought it was really important to kind of learn how like tech develops in the real world and industry, which is kind of the reasons why I transitioned over to a product development PDP.
Nice. And did like your internships over, because again, for our audience, Shelby can talk a little bit more about her internship, but did that sway you at all into choosing, switching to product development, or was that something that you would have probably done regardless?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I think regardless, I would have still transitioned even despite my internships, just because I think I've just always been interested in the tech side portion and kind of wanting to go into like financial tech, fintech, and combining those two roads together. So I think I've always wanted to go that way. Um, but with my previous internships, I did learn a lot of like the intersections between business and tech, as I did a tech consulting internship my previous summer. So I think because of that, I kind of wanted to learn more about how those two intertwined and kind of progressed in that way for my master's.
Makes sense. Yeah. And so again, for our audience, there's, like we said, we can go into Marshall School of Business to do like a business master's, or you can stay within engineering, but you don't have to stay within your undergraduate, right? So Shelby was an industrial engineering undergrad and is doing an industrial engineering master's, but you could go do a mechanical engineering master's or an electrical engineering master's. That's also possible. And so did you consider, because I know financial engineering is under electrical, I think. So did you
Yeah.
think of any of the other options outside of ISE, or is there a reason you stayed in industrial?
Yeah, so I think mostly for me, I consider a lot of factors. Like I said before, I'm finishing this in 4 years, so I did have to consider um, the the span of how much units I could take. I personally didn't want to stay longer than 4 years because I did want to go into industry, or I do want to go into industry pretty soon. So, um, this is like my really accelerated way of getting both at the same time, which is definitely doable if you come in with enough credits and do summer classes, which I've done before too, during my time here at USC. So I'm able to do it in 4 years. But I think like what drew me to that was like that kind of span that I was able to take with the extra classes I had, or the extra units and space I had within my curriculum, as well as just like my interest in like product development, because I did consider also looking into the financial side, and also the Marshall schools, but I think that took on an extra semester for me. And I think for me, I would rather do only the 4 years and then go into industry than stay for the extra semester. But that's also personal choice. I think like they offer, like there's a tons of PDPs that offer a lot of different, um, you know, fields that are like intertwined and combine a lot of disciplines. So it's really nice to explore those options too.
Totally. Yeah. And so for our audience, again, you can come in with like enough AP credits or take a lot of credits while you're at school, make sure that you're piling on the courses so that you're able to condense that 5 years into 4, which is what Shelby did, right? She came in with a lot of credits from high school. So that way she could finish her undergraduate degree faster and start on her master's a little bit quicker. So she's finishing all of that in 4 years, which is phenomenal. It's awesome. And what she's kind of saying here is that, if you choose to if you're an industrial engineering undergrad, it's going to be fewer credits for you to get that industrial engineering master's, as opposed to if you go to electrical engineering, it'll probably be a few more necessary credits to get the master's because you're switching fields. And so, she was kind of able to condense that. Just giving some context, maybe explained it beautifully. But
No, totally. Yeah.
yeah. And that's another thing, right? Where it's like your undergrad skills probably transfer over a little bit more if you stay within your department. Do you have any comments on kind of undergrad to grad, how those skills transfer, or difficulty wise, or what the difference is?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, I think a lot of the classes I took in undergrad definitely did transfer. I've taken a majority of like the project management, engineering management, because I think product development has some of those classes within the curriculum too, which is also what made me inclined to do it, because I'll learn some of those engineering management classes already with that product development master. So it kind of worked out that way. But yeah, I think a lot of the skills that you learn in undergrad are very transferable to a master's curriculum. A lot about like management. And I think the PDP program is really nice because you get to meet a lot of people, not just undergraduates who are just doing school. Like a lot of my other classes, I have group projects with people who are in industry right now, and who are working and like have jobs and families. And it's really cool to like just work with a different, like mindset of and different perspective and diverseness of people. So I think it's really cool to take a PDP. Sometimes it's pretty eye-opening a little bit. It's cool to see the people that you get to work with because it really expands your own perspectives too.
100%. One of the things you touched on real quickly, and then I have another point, but the whole time management is something that you learn really well in undergrad, especially if you're in engineering at USC, because your classes are difficult. And so by the time you get to those higher level undergraduate classes, that transfer to graduate classes, as far as I've seen, I think Shelby would attest to this as well, it's not that much more difficult to take a graduate level class, right? Like you're able to, have those skills, and learning things is just learning things, right? That's something that you've learned how to do, right? Is take those classes. So that's cool. And then the other thing that Shelby said, which I completely resonate with, is that the population of people that are taking the graduate courses is just so vastly different. And it's really cool to see how, we're undergrads, we've been here for 4 years, and, we're sitting in classes next to like 30 and 40-year-olds who have been in industry for a really long time and are coming back to school to level up. And it both is kind of cool to like get those perspectives and see how other people live their lives, but also the fact that we have, such an amazing opportunity to get that master's so early on in life, so that we don't necessarily have to come back to school and we can get that leg up in industry like right away. I don't know if has that helped you in the job search at all or anything like that, just having that master's on your resume?
Yeah, I think it will definitely vary between field, in certain fields, where a master's may not be as applicable now. And I think, like you can definitely like think about other options too, because I know a lot of like industries as well also sponsor master's programs as well. But I think like, like Lucas said, it's great just to kind of have both at the door. You're a valuable asset at that point when you're entering industry, and a lot of companies, like think very highly of you because of your academic career. So I think it's really nice. And I definitely think it's helped me a lot in my like job search and getting internships, a lot of the times, like, with a progressed academic career, like you have a lot of education under your belt, which like a lot of companies want you to have, like, and a lot of experience. So I think it's nice to have that. It's definitely helped me a lot with the industry side of things.
That makes sense. Yeah, just like having that little bit of extra education. And another thing, just for our audience who might not know, having that extra year of school, sometimes, you'll get a little bit of a pay bump, or they'll treat you as if you've been in industry for a little bit longer than somebody that's coming right out of college. And I know that was true in past jobs that I've had. Again, like just like Shelby just did, she can attest to that being true in industry. So, kind of, I guess it's like moot question at that point, but kind of what are the circumstances that you would suggest pursuing a PDP versus, is there like a situation in which you probably wouldn't have? Like, is there something where if you were in X situation, you would say it's more worth it to go into industry?
Yeah, I think like the timing, like personally for me, I think if a PDP was longer than 4 years, like for me personally, I think I wouldn't have pursued it and I would have just gone into industry, just because like when you do pursue PDP, and if it's longer than your academic career, if you don't necessarily have like maybe the financial aid or like the financial standing to continue doing and your academic career, it is kind of upsetting. But like sometimes you do have to like choose to go into industry because when you go into industry, like you are making money at that point, so it does help you that way. But I think like in that scenario, I would have gone into industry if it took longer than 4 years. I think it also depends on your field a lot of the times. Like I know personally for industrial systems engineering majors, like a master's really do give you that higher pay grade, and it really does, bump you up in levels when it comes to like seniority sometimes. Working in some of my internships, like you really see like a master's carries within the ISC field. So I think like that's what also swayed me to do a PDP. But I will say in certain industries, like sometimes a PDP or pursuing a master's isn't like necessary for like right now, and you can always get it later on. I think it just definitely varies between the industry you want to pursue and your own like your own majors per se. But yeah, I think personally for me, like ISC is a major where like a master's does carry, and it was nice to have one in 4 years. So I was like, why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like kind of going off of that in terms of, planning for that 4 years versus 5 years for our audience out there, it's something that you should be talking about with your advisor if you're interested in it, probably right away, right? Because there's a chance that if you get that freshman year, even if you don't have a lot of credits from high school, if you streamline your academic progress as much as possible and you're able to skip maybe even just a couple classes, it is possible to get it in 4.5 years where you're just paying for that extra semester. If finances is something that's a problem for you, or even time wise. For me personally, I am going to be doing it in what it's going to end up being 4.5 years. It's 8 semesters, but I took a semester off. So I'm a little bit weird. But if you could finish in December, you could graduate in December instead of the spring, and then you have an entire extra semester to either, go into industry early and maybe get a job that starts January 1, or, take that semester to have a different experience, take a different internship, do something else. So it's definitely something, planning your classes from day one. And I think, again, I hope Shelby will agree, but planning your classes from day one, and scheduling it out so that you are able to get that master's degree in there if that's what you want is so extremely helpful.
Yeah, I definitely started early. Like I definitely came in with like a decent amount of credits, which was definitely helpful. For context for everyone out there, I did do summer classes my freshman summer and sophomore summer, while doing internships, which can be difficult, balancing both the summer class and an internship, but it's definitely doable to some extent. And I think, like doing those definitely accelerated my course load. So that way, like I remember like, and I think Lucas as well, like we were taking kind of like some classes we were taking with seniors, as juniors. And I think like, we accelerated our course loads because like we knew we wanted to do a PDP. So it's kind of nice just having the back of your mind. And I will say like I talked to a lot of freshmen and sophomores too who like are thinking about PDPs. I really don't think you have to start seriously thinking about a PDP in my opinion until maybe like sophomore like spring, because you do start applying in junior year. So that's when I would kind of start considering it for like in all seriousness if you do want to pursue one, and start talking to your counselor about like how that would look in a course load when you plan it out. But yeah, I think like, as a freshman, I've always heard about PDPs and I was always like, I don't know if I should do it or not. So you definitely have time if you're a freshman to think about if you want to do a PDP. You have a lot more years ahead of you. So I wouldn't worry too much, but it's always good to have in the back of your mind and like think about it when you're doing your course loads in the beginning.
Totally. And then, I think we're coming up on getting close to time here for our first segment, but just kind of wrapping it up, could you maybe talk about the application process a little bit and like how easy is it to get into PDP just in your experience? And then I can maybe give a little bit more context.
Yes, of course. So I'm not sure if it changed because I did apply for it last year and I'm not sure if things are a little different now. So it could be completely different from when I did. But I mean, I remember talking to my counselor. I believe you apply through my Viterbi. You like send in your transcripts. You don't have to get a letter of rec, but I think you do if you're not at a certain threshold for your GPA. I don't remember what that threshold for the GPA was.
3.5.
So it's 3.5. Okay, yeah, Lucas definitely knows more than I do on this. But yeah, so as long as you make that threshold, you don't even need a letter of rec. You just kind of apply with your counselor with your course loads ahead, and you like plan out your course loads and your schedules and have both your undergraduate and graduate counselor sign off on those. And then those go to like the department to be I believe they go to the department to be like validated. So I believe that's a process for me that I took, and it wasn't difficult at all. I remember I applied sophomore fall and I got approved of it like in November, December. So and then I started taking PDP classes in my junior spring.
Which, again, for our listeners, that's really early to apply, and that's because she was so advanced in trying to get it done in 4 years that she applied herself.
Yes.
So don't feel like if you're past there and you're stressed, don't stress too much. Like you can still do it if you're past that deadline.
Right. And I also believe you have to be within a certain threshold of units to apply as well. So you just have to talk to your counselor and make sure you're within those unit threshold.
Yeah, totally. Like talking to your counselor is the easiest way. It's a little bit more difficult to apply if you're going outside of Viterbi. Like, so if you were going to go into Marshall or if you're going to go into Dornsife, on one of our other schools and try to apply for a PDP in business or psych, that might be a little bit more difficult. But for Viterbi, like Shelby said, it's honestly a cinch. We can talk about other applications here in the next segment. But for Viterbi, it's if you have a certain GPA, which I think is a 3.5, and then even if you don't, if you get a letter of rec and the professor says yes, like this person is good to go, they're a good student. It's really just a matter of paperwork. So if you want to do it, it's definitely something that's doable. It's not out of your reach. But just make sure to talk to your counselors, make sure you know what's going on when the deadlines are. Because the worst thing you can do is miss a deadline. And that would kind of be hard because it's, kind of a bureaucratic process. But if you get the application submitted in, should be good to go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Shelby. You were awesome. I hope everybody out here enjoyed hearing about Shelby's experience. That's kind of the typical experience with Viterbi. Up next is going to be one of my other friends he's doing a PDP in Marshall. So he went from civil engineering undergraduate to a business analytics master's. And that's, I went from an industrial engineering undergrad to a business analytics master's. So we'll have a little bit of a conversation surrounding that switch. But for right now, Shelby, great person, great friend. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And everybody else, stick around for the next part. Thanks so much. Awesome. All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Our second guest joining us today is going to be my roommate and friend, Mr. Christian Nordover. Christian, you want to introduce yourself?
How's it going, everybody? Thank you, Lucas. My name is indeed Christian. I'm Lucas's roommate, and I'm a senior studying civil engineering from Chicago, and I'm pursuing a master's through the PDP program in business analytics.
Totally. So like I kind of alluded to back in our first segment with Shelby, both Christian and I are pursuing PDPs outside of engineering. So we're both engineering undergrads. As a refresher, I'm an industrial and systems engineering undergrad. And as Christian just said, he's a civil engineer. And we're both pursuing our progressive degree program, our master's degrees in business analytics through the Marshall School of Business. So kind of just to get started, Christian, you want to tell us like how you got that decision? And we can kind of just go bit for bit here, and I can explain my part of the story after you tell yours. And a lot of them will kind of line up because, as you guys will figure out pretty soon, Christian and I kind of made this decision together. So
yeah, there will be some overlap for sure. But so I think what led me to business analytics was, I think over my time in civil engineering, I had started to figure out that I enjoyed more of the business side of things. I have had two internships, one that was more of like a technical engineering one, and then one that was a little less technical in like the construction field. And I think what I enjoyed the most about that construction internship was that business side of things. And so when I started to think about what I wanted to do, I wanted some exposure to more of like the financial business side of things, but I also wanted to balance that with, like I am an engineer and I do enjoy technical things. And so business analytics, for anybody that doesn't know what it's all about, is basically taking technical data, analyzing it, doing things that normal engineers would do, but then you're turning around and you're coming up with business-driven solutions. So say you're looking at data, well, like how is that going to help the company, and how is that going to improve growth in certain segments and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of where my interest was sparked, and it is through Marshall, but it definitely still has that technical side that I enjoy in engineering. So that's kind of where I was coming from with that decision.
Totally. So kind of on my side, just for the audience, I started off obviously an industrial and systems engineer. I had two internships previous to deciding for this master's. I spent a summer working in venture capital, and then as we alluded to in the intro, I worked for about 8 months at Disneyland on their industrial engineering team. And what we kind of called ourselves at Disneyland was we operated as internal consultants. And so it is a little bit more of a business type role than really an engineering role. Yes, you work on efficiency, you work on data analyses, but it is slightly more similar to some things that you would do out of a business analytics degree. And my kind of thought process and reasoning behind getting a PDP in Marshall as opposed to Marshall as our business school, behind getting a progressive degree in Marshall as opposed to Viterbi, is that I already had access to the Viterbi network, the engineering network. I already was going to have a degree that said engineering on it, and I had some leftover time for my scholarship, so it wasn't going to expire yet, and I had some time that I wanted to use to, pursue something else in school, and so Marshall seemed like a better fit for me. So to get access to, a completely different network, new people, and kind of get exposed to new ideas, maybe find something that I enjoy just as much as, if not more than, the industrial engineering side. And then I could always go back to the engineering. I could always fall back on a bachelor's degree. So again, kind of two different approaches to that. Christian kind of realized that he liked engineering, but he really liked the business side more. I'm not as sure. I really do like industrial engineering in my undergrad degree, but it's more of I had the time to do the master's. I had the opportunity to do the master's, and I was lucky enough to not have to completely finance it by myself. So I said, I might as well go for it and get the extra degree, spend a little bit more time at school, especially because our freshman year was cut short because of COVID. We were both of us had our freshman year online. I was stuck in my basement, so staying an extra year on campus didn't sound half bad for my progressive degree program. Awesome. Sorry, I went on a little bit of monologue there, but kind of going back to Christian, kind of talking about engineering into business and how that process was. Was it more difficult to apply? Did your experience carry over? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think the engineering has actually helped a lot with this program. And I mean this not as like a engineering superiority complex type of thing, but it does really prepare you well for data analysis, and then obviously business analysis. I think the most concrete example is we deal a lot with coding languages with this master's, and obviously as engineers, you're coding. You have exposure to a lot of different types of coding. I even had the opportunity to take some ITP, which is a minor that Viterbi offers. I was able to take a couple classes in that, so I was very prepared through Viterbi for this. And I think just in general, like your thought process as an engineer is exactly what you want to focus on as a business analyst. And then Viterbi specifically focuses a lot on a holistic engineer. And I think that's something that really stands out as a business analyst is your ability to communicate with people is something that Viterbi focuses a lot on, and this master's program focuses a lot on, because realistically, your communication skills are going to take you just as far as your technical knowledge. So, yeah, in terms of being prepared for this and my engineering experience as a background, I think it's worked out almost perfectly, to be honest.
Awesome. Yeah, and exactly. I've had the same experience. The coding has been a lot easier for me than some of the students that came out of Marshall undergrad and into this program. Going from business to business, going from engineering to business kind of helps with that understanding of the more technical side of things for sure. What I will say, to kind of not really say the negative, but talk about some of the challenges in going from engineering to business, is that we weren't able to get any of the prereqs. So there are not a lot of, but there were like one or two courses that you theoretically could have tested out of if you were a Marshall student and you'd taken those classes in your undergrad degree. And so, us engineers, we do have to sit through those courses just like anybody else. I'd say another thing is that it is a few more credit hours than a master's would be in Viterbi, just because we don't have as much background. And that I think is just true for Marshall, for the business schools, master's programs in general. They are more credit hours than engineering master's programs, at least through this program. And so, we're in school for a little bit longer, but really it's not that big of a deal. It's probably maybe, 4 to 8 extra credit hours that we'd have to do, is like 1 or 2 more classes. So if you want to, make that switch either into business or, go from engineering into one of our other schools that we have here, we've got so many different grad programs. It is completely doable. The next thing I wanted to kind of talk about is just difficulty of the classes. And I know you touched on it, that the skills were kind of largely transferable from engineering to business. But just in general of a master's class, a lot of the times you hear that they are that much more difficult. And I know that everybody has kind of differing experiences, but just wanted to get your take on,
Yeah, completely. I think This was our first day of orientation, when they specifically told us, the PDP students, you can't think of yourself as an undergrad student anymore. You have to think of yourself as a business analytics professional. And I think that was kind of a mindset change for me. As an undergrad, you kind of think of yourself as like a book, whatever, like you're just gonna get the grade, move on type of thing. And being a business analytics professional, as they say, it's more focused on like that understanding of the concepts and more focused on the relationships with your professors and your students and or your fellow classmates. In terms of difficulty, though, we're engineering students. We know how to take lots of classes at the same time. We know how to study for tests. So, in terms of like the actual difficulty of the material, not at all, not one bit challenging. That is something that I think engineering students are very well prepared for compared to other students that may join this master's. We know how to study for those coding exams. We know how to study for those complex like stats classes and math, and all of those things are very much in our wheelhouse. So you are very well prepared for that field for sure.
Totally. Yeah, I've had similar experiences. What I will say is just that the structure of the classes are slightly different, and that's just going from an undergrad class to a master's class, and going from engineering to business, right? It's a pretty decent switch, and so that the way that courses are weighted and the way that curves are taken in the classes, those can tend to change. But in terms of the actual work, 100%, like Christian said, it can get to be not that much harder than really what undergrad degree is, as long as you've built up those skills throughout your time at school and you know what you should be doing. Like going into the master's level is not that much more difficult. The other thing that people are often asking about when it comes to these programs is how much longer you're going to be in school. What's the burden on your credit hours if you've got to stay an extra year or even longer, because it differs from person to person. So Christian, you want to tell us just kind of where you're at on that road?
Yeah. I would say this is probably one that we differ probably the most on. So my path, and this is kind of the way that the PDP program is laid out for business analytics, is it's an 18-month program usually, but if you're doing PDP, it's typically 2 years. But the way that that works, though, is you take your first year's worth of classes concurrently with your senior year of undergrad classes. So that's kind of my path. I'll be doing, or I'm currently doing my master's classes now, but I will be just doing one more year, so a fifth year where I'll just be focused on my master's classes. So still going to finish my undergrad degree in 4 years. Still on track for all of that. It's just you're starting to take some classes now in your master's program that let you finish a little bit earlier. So if you were to take this, or if you were to do this as somebody transferring to Marshall, you would have to spend 18 months, or 3 semesters. So I guess that's a little bit different. My, I guess, reason for doing that, I'm also fortunate enough to be on scholarship, so I wanted to fit in as many classes as I could and take advantage of everything that USC has to offer, and so this kind of seemed like a natural fit for me, to take advantage of all of those possible credits that I could, because by front loading a lot of your classes in engineering, your last few semesters, I know this is definitely true for Lucas, you have a lot less mandatory credits that you can take, and you have a lot more flexibility with taking like electives, picking up minors, things like that. And I just decided that I was gonna do a master's. So that was kind of how my decision was impacted by it. I just wanted to make the most out of my experience, and this kind of seemed like the most logical way of doing it.
Yeah, totally fair. So just to refresh everybody's memory, I know you just listened to it probably 10 minutes ago at this point. But Shelby was able to complete her master's because she did it through Viterbi and within her same major, ISC undergrad to an industrial engineering kind of fall down master's program within industrial engineering. She was able to complete her master's and her undergrad in just 8 semesters, so 4 years. And again, she had high school credits and that kind of thing. Christian, on the other hand, like he just said, he's doing 10 semesters, so he'll be doing 5 full years of school. And that's just everybody's kind of got a different path and different credits that they come in with. As far as me, I know I told you guys that I'd kind of explain my path forward. I'm actually going to be doing it in 8 semesters as well, is the current plan. I took a semester off, like we've already talked about, to work. So am only on my 6th semester of school right now. So I guess technically I'm still a junior, but I just call myself a senior. And then I will stay for 2 more semesters. So I'll be graduating in December of 2024. And so that's another option just to be aware of and to know, is that you can always graduate, in the winter semester, and then take that spring to go either work or start a job early or travel or do something else. And I have no idea what I want to do yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But it's definitely nice to have that flexibility, to have those options. And that's one of the best parts about USC, right? Is that they do give you that much flexibility with your class schedule. They let you be an advocate and to really plan your own way. And as long as they're not seeing that you're any signs of you falling off or getting bad grades, they let you have a lot of autonomy with the scheduling, which is nice. I guess the last kind of real question to ask is, do you think it's worth? So Christian and I are both now 3 or 8 weeks into our masters. We've kind of our first semester taking classes. So far, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's worth it? How's it going?
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth it for me. I think this is going to open up a lot more doors that I wanted to have opened up. In terms of the unit load, I am actually over my limit for this semester. I'm taking 20 units. I know Lucas is as well, but like he just mentioned, it's one of those things though that when you get admitted into this, and honestly, even with like undergrad and Viterbi, like you meet with your advisor every semester, and so we actually have 2 advisors that help us with the undergrad and masters. But as long as you have a plan and you're demonstrating your ability to stick to that plan and you're getting good grades, your advisors will pretty much move heaven and earth for you to they'll squeeze in as many classes as you can. I've had my advisor a couple of times. I've come to her with a plan of whatever, taking like 18, 19, 20 units. And she'll be like, I think it's going to be a lot, but you've shown that you can handle it. So I'm not going to hold you back from that whatsoever. So definitely think it's worth it. Definitely think it's possible. And yeah, I think like when I finish in whatever it is 2 years from now, I'm going to look back and I'm be like, yeah, it was a lot of work, but it's really setting me up well. So I would say as of right now, it's all systems go. I'm very happy.
Yeah, no, and I completely echo that sentiment too. It's it's nice to see that it's been doing wonders for us, and it's opening doors to different types of jobs that we might not have been able to have in the first place. So definitely is something I'd recommend, just pursuing the PDP route in general. If that's something you're interested in, that's one of the best parts about USC is, because we're a private school and because there is we have a large student body, but not as big as a lot of the public schools that are out there. We have the flexibility to kind of move around classes and things for our students, and it's been an awesome experience. But with that being said, Christian, thanks for being on. Thanks for talking about your journey with me. I appreciate it. And to all of our listeners, thank you guys for listening through for our 2 guest speakers. And we're going to take it back to Paul and Maya. So I'll talk to you guys in a second. Bye.
Thank you guys.
All right, welcome back, everybody, all of our loyal listeners. Lucas, I want to thank you for bringing us these guests in the podcast. I particularly like how a lot of the times their undergraduate degree, like they're getting their master's in something else. So I know like some previous episodes we've talked about this. I know I did an interview with Tad, who was an undergraduate civil engineering major, but he's getting his master's in environmental engineering. So I'd like to hear that you can do a little bit of both and get, I don't know, like a different skill set and different sort of degree.
100%. Yeah, like the listeners just heard, I'm actually getting my master's degree in business. So in business analytics, which is not even through Viterbi. So you can kind of mix and match from Viterbi to another school, or get your master's in a different type of engineering, or even stay still if you're doing mechanical engineering undergrad and get that master's in mechanical engineering. So it's definitely a really cool program.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Well, I think this is all fascinating, but we got to get back to the topic that is most important, which is Halloween.
Oh, gosh.
Maya, do you have an update for us on your Halloween plans? There was last week we discussed the text message thread and the costume ideas that no one agreed upon. I mean, has there been progress? Everybody's dying to know what's happening.
Yes. And also before getting into that, Lucas, I don't know if you heard last week, but I guessed Paul's Halloween costume correctly. Paul, Lucas would really be into this as well. Paul and his family, they're going as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
That's amazing. Why is Paul perfect for that too? That's
gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Yes, but I am going as Scooby-Doo actually.
Did that get decided on? Okay.
It did, yeah. And one of my roommates is Daphne, and Peyton, who's been on the podcast a couple times before, she's being Velma. So we're gonna be a little trio. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I actually just got my ears in the mail today. So
amazing. I love that Maya is playing Scooby-Doo while her roommates are the two, actual girls in the show, and Maya takes the daughters.
This was a long debate. One of my roommates has red hair, so it made sense for her to be Daphne. And Peyton just broke her foot, my other roommate. So I was like, Peyton can be Velma. That's okay. I love Scooby too. Like I watched the show growing up. I love Scooby-Doo. So yeah.
Lucas, what are your plans? Do you have ideas on this? Is this something you're thinking about?
Costumes have never really been my forte. It's normally something that I decide on a couple days before Halloween. So I have not put as much thought as I would like to have into it yet. But I know a bunch of people. There's some people that are going to the Weekender, so they're going to be away for Halloween weekend. But I think I'm staying back because we have our big open house. I'm still figuring it out, but I'll keep you guys posted.
Lucas, there are so many Scooby-Doo characters left.
You want me to be?
You could be Shaggy.
Shaggy would be great.
Yeah.
I feel like Shaggy's something that's pretty easy too, right? I just get a green T-shirt and throw it on. And
yeah. I could.
A little soul patch.
I can't grow that, but maybe I can find a fake one or something. Your Travis Kelce mustache is gonna be killer, Paul. I can't wait.
So that is the ongoing debate in my head right now. Is I've got the jersey, or I got like a T-shirt. I wasn't going to buy an actual jersey for this one day, but I got a shirt with a big number on it, and I'm going to wear some like white joggers, and I got some sunglasses because it seems like he's always in sunglasses. Although I put them on, and my daughter said, "You look like Tony Stark," because I was wearing these bigger ones that look like that.
I can see this Tony Stark. That'd be crazy.
It was funny. But now the question is whether I let the mustache go or put a fake one on. I don't know. I was telling my wife, should I get my haircut? Should I like buzz out my hair just because that would be easy to grow back too? But I don't know. I'm debating on all that stuff, or whether just the shirt and the glasses are enough,
Would you buzz it before or after Discover USC?
Excellent question. I think it would be after.
Okay. I was going to say, do we all get to see you with the Travis Kelce hairstyle? I feel like you need to bring the sunglasses too.
Sunglasses, if I remember, it's not a bad plan. But I think it would be very too Tony Starkish, because these are very much Tony Stark Endgame glasses. These are very much that style. I don't have them right here. I just realized they're at the front door. But they're very, very, very cheap, very, very horrible glasses. So it depends on how we're going to do it. And my wife just got all the elements of her costume down now. My daughter has hers all done now. It's going to be interesting. I would have thought, Lucas, that you would be going as Ed Sheeran. I thought, because all of the Ed Sheeran activity that I've heard about with you lately, like you've seen him how many times in the last couple of weeks? 4?
Yeah, I was at both of the concerts in LA, and then I went to a little pop-up shop a couple months ago, and I saw him. He just happened to be there live at the pop-up shop, which is cool. I'm a big Ed Sheeran fan for the listeners.
But you didn't go to him opening for John Mayer at the Wiltern?
I did not go to that. I didn't know he was opening.
When was John Mayer at the Wiltern?
He opened for that was the week of the Ed Sheeran concert.
Yeah.
No, you have got to be kidding me. Oh my gosh, I would have gone to that concert.
They did a fundraiser, and so the whole point was that Ed was paying him back for John Mayer opening for him, but in like Jersey or something. I can't remember. Oh, Gillette. Maybe it's Gillette.
It was Gillette. Yeah, his opener like got sick or something like
got sick. Yeah.
So John Mayer like stepped up and opened for him for a concert, and so he was paying him back. It was cool.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there's still one more. Oh my God, or was it last night? Was Ed Sheeran last night at Yamava in Palm Springs, the casino?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't looking into that.
It was either last night or it's coming up in November, but he's got one more show.
One more show around here. If it's close and it's cheap enough, I'll definitely go. But I've done twice in the last
it's a lot.
2 weeks, so there was plenty for me. I think at that point, even though he is my favorite artist, I think there's a point where you just
you get enough.
Let other people have another chance.
You get enough.
Save it for the next album, the next tour. Switch up the set list.
Absolutely.
All right. Maya, sorry. Now, of course, we got to come back to Taylor Swift. I know it's a year away from you going to the Eras Tour. However, did you go to, or are you have plans to go to the movie?
In the works. We actually don't have any tickets booked right now. So my roommate, who's very into Taylor Swift, she'll be out of town this weekend. So we're trying to find a time that works best. I also have a birthday next week, so like my parents are going to be in town for a couple days. So we're still working on it. But ideally, yes, I would love to go.
Okay, because I did not go, but my daughter and my wife went on Saturday, and I guess it was insane. And just all sorts of craziness happening. I don't know if you've seen any of the clips online, like people are just like dance parties and it's all sorts of craziness going on. It's an experience. It's an actual absolute experience. So the bracelet trading still goes on, outfits, all that stuff.
Okay. Noted. Fun. Yeah, I'm still looking into it. Gosh, I feel like there's just so much going on right now.
You both could go. We could do a big group trip and have everybody just go. Big BSA trip to the
Oh, that would be crazy.
That could be a retreat.
Yeah,
Paul's interested. That's crazy.
I'm not going.
I don't know if Paul's face looks interested.
My face never looks interested in anything. I have a very I'm not interested face. I pride myself on that. No, it's good. I was asking more because I was curious on your perspective of, would you want to see the movie before you see the show?
Yeah, that was the other thing. But I'm also wondering, after all of the US legs and after the Europe, will it be different? Or will it just be the same set list? I'm will she start going through the same surprise songs again? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. It went through everything. I mean, it's like her whole catalog. And so it'll be fine. It'll be great. It's going to be awesome for you. Anyway, well, that's that. I think we covered everything, unless there's something else you guys wanted to bring up. We covered all the important stuff, right? Okay, good. And then I'll debate the haircut. And I have a feeling I'm going to look really weird if I do that, shave the sides of my head for Discover. That would look really odd.
The parents would be like, "Is this Paul Ledesma? I don't know."
I have a quick story about that, by the way. I don't know if it's gonna be funny to anyone else. But the other thing is, I don't even know if I can do the stash though, because I'm not gonna be at Discover with a stash. I will say that much, because that will just be really awkward and weird. And I'm gonna shave for Discover, but I don't think I can get that up, and I don't think I get that stash going in 2 days.
That's a little intense, yeah.
That's a little intense. Do you guys remember? Did you guys ever know Michael Cox?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Did not. Well, he was just another guy, right? He's another guy that worked with us. And I ran into a family this weekend who is so jazzed at the stuff that we do. Loved the Burning Questions, Maya. You saw the picture I posted in the team's channel. Was so excited, brought hot sauce to share with everybody. You need to have the Chicago hot sauce. It was from Chicago. And they're super jazzed. And the cool thing about it is that it was very genuine. It was very much this has been super cool, and it's fun to watch the stuff, and shout out to all students. Anyways, this one student, she has older brothers that have gone through the admission process with us before. So they visited campus, they knew me or they knew of me. And they get a good sense of what's going on. But anyways, they came and they went to like our open house Discover a couple years ago when Michael was working for us. And I guess at this point we were doing introductions and they were walking in late or something. They're in the back of the room because that SGM room, that's just a huge room, right? And so they couldn't see down there, but they saw a guy standing introducing himself. And they're like, "Oh, is that Paul? That's who we want to make sure we say hi to." And then the guy said, "No, he's someone else." And because that was Michael Cox. But at that point, then they made up a thing and said, "No, you got to be careful. When you go to USC, there's Paul Ledesma, and then there's Paul Fodesma." And so they gave Michael Cox a whole new nickname that we've never had before, Paul Fodesma, because it's just the other guy, basically, because we were the only two guys that were around. So I just thought that was the funniest thing in the world. Because I'm sure that he would appreciate knowing that that's how he was being referred to with his
Paul
family.
Fodesma. No, talk about like a face that never shows like emotion or excitement. That's Michael.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so maybe it is Paul Fodesma.
There you go. Yeah, awesome. Anyway, good times. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Lucas. Thanks for the episode. Maya, it's good to see you. And I hope you all enjoy. And if you're coming to Discover USC on Sunday, October 29th, we got a big day planned for you. Check out our website for more details. Make sure that you register for the event. Once you register, we'll send you even more details on how the day is going to go and all the different sessions that we have going on for you. And we look forward to seeing you that day. And if not, make sure you get your application in by Wednesday, November 1st, to be considered for early action and merit scholarship consideration. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.